We'll continue the Search UI implementation as we step into the completion container class. The completion container tries to coordinate the two instances of the autocomplete address input class by providing a single class that handles the completion UI. Most of the code in this class should be very familiar, as some of it is refactored code from the map form, while other code relates to the suggest location API we implemented earlier. The name of the class is misleading. Completion container is not a container. Here, instead of deriving, I encapsulated the UI logic and tried to expose only the business logic. Event dispatches allow us to broadcast events using the add remove listener observer style API. We use this dispatcher to broadcast an event when a user presses a completion button. This method is invoked when completion is in progress. It invokes the web service call to request completion suggestions for a given string. We fill up the container with buttons. If one of the buttons is pressed, we fetch the location from the web service and fill it into the autocomplete address input. We then fire the event dispatcher to process the actual selection in the UI. We have two types of entries here. One with only one line of text and one with 2 lines of text. This is mostly in place to fit the UI IDs correctly with the right underline behavior. This method is invoked externally to clear up the content of the completion UI and show the clean set of initial options. History is positioned here, so we could later fill this with actual search history, etc. This method constructs and animates the completion UI into place. Notice that we place the content in a container which we wrap up in a border layout. This allows us to manipulate the preferred size without breaking the scrolling behavior of the child container. In order to accomplish the design for the buttons, I had to add the Where to button line to UI ID. It uses gray text on a transparent background. Padding aligns with the text above. We keep the top padding to 0 so it won't drift away from the first line in the Where to button. Margin is 0 as usual. We have an underline here instead of the underline of the first line of text. We use a slightly smaller font, but the standard main light font nevertheless.